The Sharingan is part of one of the three great dojutsu families, the other two being the Rinnegan and the Byakugan. The Rinnegan is actually where the Sharingan derives its origins from, as the Rinnegan belonged to Hagoromo, the Sage of Six Paths, and the Sharingan derived from his son, Indra. And Indra unlocked his Sharingan from a traumatic event after saving Ashura, which is how anybody who has Indra's genetics, aka the people we now know as the Uchiha, now have to go through a semi-traumatic or a hyper-emotional event to unlock the Sharingan from this point forwards. And the second you unlock that, boy oh boy do you get a metric fuck ton of abilities. And every single one of these Sharingan's abilities actually derive from the ideology of the Sharingan having two special eyes unique to it. One eye being the Eye of Insight and the other eye being the Eye of Hypnotism. Those are just made up ideas, though it's more so to categorize each of the Sharingan's major abilities. One of those techniques deriving from the literal English translation of the Sharingan being the Copy Wheel Eye, that being the Sharingan has the capabilities of copying pretty much anything that the user can realistically copy. So pretty much if you've got the physical abilities, the Genjutsu prowess, or any of the elemental abilities coming from this show, you can copy anything. Oh, also you need enough chakra to mimic those same abilities. But if you have any of those within your range, you can copy it. That technique was first shown to us by Kakashi when he was fighting Zabuza way back in the Land of Waves arc, and where he ended up copying Zabuza's water dragon technique, whatever the fuck it's called. But another technical technique belonging to the Eye of Insight is actually the ability to see chakra and chakra flows to go with it. Yes, it is not nearly as good as the Byakugan, but it still has a pretty good capability following it, with it progressively getting better with more tome in the eye. With any Uchiha who unlocks the Sharingan ends up only awakening to one tome, and the more you start to train with your Sharingan, you slowly but surely unlock 3 tome, which gives you the capabilities of, well, or the enhanced abilities. And by the time you get to the second and the third stage of the tome, you're able to actually have a form of precognition. Pretty much, your vision gets so hyper fucking good to the point where you can see the muscle fibers move on a person's body alongside the chakra flow moving to somebody, meaning you have the capabilities of understanding where they're about to go next, or understanding what kind of jutsu or genjutsu they're about to use. Speaking of genjutsu, let's talk about the Sharingan's probably most iconic prowess, its genjutsu abilities, all belonging to the Eye of Hypnotism. And genjutsu for the Sharingan actually comes from you being able to lock eyes with somebody, or if you're skilled enough, you can make it to where it looks like you have an eye contact with somebody, and you're able to force your own chakra into their system, manipulating it from inside them to make them hypnotize something.
You'll like the video, you'll subscribe and hit the notification bell, and that specifically says all notifications so you never miss a video that I upload. Now, back to the video.
Whether it be distorting the general environment, whatever is on the body, or the general space and time around them, making them think they've gone 4 seconds into a battle when it's not even started yet. And with the Eye of Hypnotism comes the 2 greatest abilities belonging to the Sharingan users, that being Izanagi and Izanami. Izanagi, first used by Danzo during his fight with Saskue during the 5 Kage Summit, is pretty much just a weird immortality clause, in where if you are able or in a situation to where you're capable of sacrificing one of your eyes, you're able to put yourself under a genjutsu, if you will, in where your body will then dissipate and then form somewhere else completely unharmed by whatever was just about to kill you. It's like a really weird form of yin-yang release pretty much, because you're destroying your own body just to reform it somewhere else completely undamaged, but you do sacrifice an eye for that, so yeah. And depending on whether or not you trust filler or not, this ability has the capabilities of like rearranging the environment against you alongside bringing other people back to life. Yet again, that is only if you believe anime filler. For now, we have only ever seen the genjutsu really ever be used on a single individual. But as you could imagine, this technique is so insanely fucking broken, a counter technique had to be developed by the Uchiha to stop this kind of ruckus going around. I can only ever really imagine this being such a hassle if people were spamming the ability by taking away their own eyes and stealing other Uchiha's eyes and then doing the exact same thing there. Otherwise, I have no idea why Izanami was even created in the first place, as a countermeasure for Izanagi at the very least. But Izanami is so much more confusing, but think of it as an infinite loop process to turn you into a good person. But it is super fucking hard to put off because you need a starting point of when an action is formed and an ending point mimicking this starting action, to make a looping process to put the person under the genjutsu. But this starting point can have multiple different points in time during your battle in where it could be classified as a starting point, as Itachi ended up making one inevitable starting point, that being his initial clash with Kabuto, and then making 2 more counterpoints just in case the first one doesn't really work. But if you're able to actually get off this genjutsu, it will pretty much force the person in that loop forever until they learn the lesson, which heavily means it will only work against people who truly do believe their actions are like legitimately evil. So it wouldn't really work against people like Naruto, who always tries to do the best for whatever comes around and understands he's trying to do the best for whatever's coming around. Unless it's more of a case of like the person who has set up the genjutsu has a level of standard, and therefore the person's got to meet those standards by themselves, which is the only way you can break out that genjutsu. You've got to learn like what you've done is a bad thing and then try and rectify that in the future. But I don't know, that's a ramble for a later day. But those are all the abilities of the Sharingan. But the Sharingan has 2 more evolutionary states, that being the Mangekeyou and the Eternal Mangekeyou. And the way you unlock the Mangekeyou Sharingan is through, once again, another traumatic event. The initial idea was you had to kill your best friend to unlock the Mangekeyou Sharingan. But now we know from Sarada that it just has to be an insanely traumatic event for you to just go through it. The reason it has to be a traumatic event, by the way, is because all Uchiha are extremely emotional people, and therefore being in such an emotion state, the Sharingan just kind of awakens through some chemical process that goes on through the brain. And killing your best friend will most certainly be overly emotional for you, because that is both the way kinda Itachi awoken his and Saskue. Anyway, after you've gone through your insanely traumatic event, I am so deeply sorry for you. When you've done that, you will unlock your new Mangekeyou Sharingan. Good luck with it though. What do I mean by that? Well, the Mangekeyou Sharingan holds some of the most busted abilities within all of Naruto's history, with the biggest downside of you will go blind so fucking fast. Because unless you tick off a certain amount of requirements, you're going to go blind, and that's through multiple different reasons. One is just an overusage of chakra. Every single Mangekeyou Sharingan ability is insanely chakra sapping, and there is no helping that. So I'm assuming, just to rectify you not accidentally killing yourself by using all your chakra, the eye just goes. It will blind itself before you're able to die via overusing your abilities. And 2, they're insanely fucking strong. Almost every single Mangekeyou Sharingan ability we've ever seen throughout the entire show has been insanely fucking busted. Bear in mind, one's not even like a real Mangekeyou, but we'll get to that in a minute. But the rewards, insanely good, because not only do you get a typically special kind of technique, very derivative to yourself and your own personality, but you also get the greatest mechanic of the Mangekeyou Sharingan, that being the Susanoo. But before we get to that, let's carry on talking about these specific abilities, because if you've ever paid attention to Naruto and all of its franchise, you would know only very few people have very similar abilities to one another. So I am just going to be explaining all the Mangekeyou Sharingan abilities, because apparently I just completely forgot to mention it beforehand. Both Itachi and Saskue both have the Amaterasu technique, which is an indistinguishable black flame that can only be going out if the user of the flame technique had decided to put it out themselves, which, if they're trying to use it on you, means they're not going to turn it off. But Saskue has Katsutsuchi, which is a technique that manipulates the black flame around him to turning it into whatever the hell he wants, whether it be a flaming arrow for his Susanoo, or a flaming core for his Chidori to power it up later on in the fight. Whilst Itachi has Tsukiyomi, a genjutsu ability that is able to put somebody in a mental space and tortures them for however long Itachi decides to torture them for. Whilst in the real world time, it actually lasts for less than 3 seconds. I.e., think back to the time when Itachi used it on Kakashi, and Kakashi felt 3 days worth of torture, but it only experienced about like a second of his life. Obito has 2 different kinds of Kamui on each of his eyes. Obito's right eye has the Kamui close-ranged ability, in where he is able to transport himself and other people up in front of him to the Kamui dimension. But not only can he actually force himself into the Kamui dimension alongside people up in front of his face, he's also to make himself transparent, making him pretty much untouchable for about a 5-minute duration. Whilst for most of the show, Kakashi has Obito's left eye, which is a long-range sniper, and it works pretty much the exact same way, but rather than being up close, he can use it for a significantly longer distance. In the same vein as Obito, Saskue also has Okono Matsukame in both of his eyeballs. But like Obito, both his eyeballs do completely different things. Well, not completely different. Same thing, but different. In Donzo's eye, he has the ability to take somebody and completely rewrite the field of view and will point to whatever Donzo wants it to be, but it's a significantly weaker version, and it can only go on for about a couple minutes at a time, supposedly. Whilst the eye Itachi stored on the crow holds the significantly stronger and longer lasting version that supposedly takes 10 years to recover after the ability was used, in where this version of the eyeball is completely and utterly undisturbable. You cannot break somebody out of this genjutsu no matter what. Even if you have complete and utter atomic control over the said person under the genjutsu, they are forced to do whatever the eyeball tells them to do. Shin's Mangekeyou Sharingan, which we still don't know the name of this day, forces a little marking on his hand, and where if he touches an inanimate object, he is able to put it into his weird telekinesis ability, and where he's able to float objects for as long as his marking has been branded onto them. But for now, let's talk about the other great ability of the Mangekeyou Sharingan, that being the Susanoo. The Susanoo is a giant ethereal avatar that can surround the user at any point in time. Typically starting out as a ribcage, but if you only have the regular Mangekeyou, it will only go up to about the half-armored state, as by that point, it's just taking up way too much chakra, so the body will just shut down and then eliminate the Mangekeyou Sharingan eyes. But that's not always a terrible thing, especially if you've got family who have also got a Mangekeyou. Because only 2 people in the entire franchise have ever unlocked an eternal Mangekeyou Sharingan, that being Itachi and Madara. And the way the pair of them have ever unlocked it is through the pair of them wearing down their eyeballs to the point where they're just completely blind, but swapping out one of their eyeballs for their siblings' eyes, who both conveniently also just didn't have a functioning eye at that point in time. So you need to blind one of your eyes, have a dead sibling who also just happens to have a Mangekeyou Sharingan, and by the time both those things have happened at the same point in time, you can shove your sibling's eyeball in your eye, and bing bang fucking boom, you've now got the eternal Mangekeyou Sharingan. Which I do need to point out doesn't give you any extra abilities, it more so just greatly enhances your own. Alongside maybe possibly making sure to where every single technique doesn't nearly as much chakra as the regular Mangekeyou state would have drained it as. As with the eternal Mangekeyou Sharingan, you are now able to complete the Susanoo state. Because now you just don't need to worry about going blind, as the eternal Mangekeyou Sharingan just doesn't. Why? Oh, fine, man. But it's a thing, and now you have unlocked the perfect Susanoo. Arguably one of the strongest things to have ever been created in this fucking franchise. As this giant ethereal monster is stronger than the vast majority of tail beasts we have ever seen in the franchise, and can also do near enough as much damage as any of the J.R.K. They all also gain kind of unique aspects to one another. Now, we never get to see Madara's unique case for his Susanoo, but Itachi, Saskue, and Obito, all 3 of them have unique-esque abilities reviving within the Susanoo state. Because Itachi has the Tatsutsu blade, I'm so sorry for butchering that, and the Yadamir, which is a reflective mirror. Both are apparently just items you can find within the world of Naruto, but Itachi has them in his Susanoo. But I might make a whole nother video explaining that little aspect, because I don't believe they're just random items you can fucking find within the world of Naruto. I think they're just specifically beholding to the actual Sharingan users. Anyway, Itachi has those. Saskue actually has a bow on his arm, specifically a crossbow that he can emit his Amaterasu eye onto it alongside with Kakatsuchi, in where he can manipulate it to making a flaming arrow. And when Kakashi used Obito's perfect Susanoo through some 6-path stage bullshit, he was able to have giant Kamui Shuriken, in where he could throw them, and they would be absorbed into the Kamui dimension, no questions asked if it lands on you. And if you also want to go with non-canon content, Saskue also had a giant drill. Anyway, I believe that's it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and hit the notification bell because it helps me out greatly. If you like romance manga, here's a video talking about how I attended an all guys mixer. Great manga, you should go read it. Here's a random playlist explaining other aspects. As of right now, it's only 2 Dragon Ball videos, but you know, that should be fun. And there's my face. You can click that and go find any other videos providing on my channel. Bye.